I find it disturbing how the Conservative Party has fallen so far behind its high ideals. This is a wonderful book about Nancy Astor by a friend of mine, and Nancy Astor. Towards the end of the book, there's a piece about Nancy Astor's activities during the beginning of the Second World War, and she says, "I am one of those who criticise the Prime Minister to his face and not behind his back. Sometimes I feel it would be almost better politically to talk against ministers behind their backs rather than just say yes, yes to their faces, but I cannot join that group, dead or alive." Now, she is quite right, and she was a forceful and a powerful voice in Parliament. I think she was the first female MP. There have been others since, many of them in the Conservative Party, including the first British female Prime Minister. But so many others of note, like Jill Knight, for example, Peggy Fenner in the 1970s, Angela Rumbold in the 1980s, Edwina Currie. You may like her, you may not like her, but she was a powerful and interesting woman. John Major certainly thought so. Anne Winterton, Virginia Bottomley, Theresa Gorman, Maureen Hicks, Emma Nicholson. These are incredibly powerful, interesting, principled women. Gillian Shepherd, actually, and even Anne Widdecombe. I know I mock Anne Widdecombe, but she is a person with principle and with determination. And yet the intake that we've had recently, and the women who seem to have survived. There's only 20% of the current Conservative political party who are women. And I don't think we should be defining politics by gender, but I find it extraordinary and disturbing that the quality of these women in power, and it seems this isn't a reflection on their gender, this is a reflection on the selection process that propelled them into power, and the quality of these individuals. So I don't think it's my place particularly to talk about the sisterhood of people in Parliament. But Kemi Badenoch is not a good example. Now, I called her out yesterday, and I was particularly scathing, and I've been rebuked in the comment section for my reference to her caustic response to the Speaker of the House's concerns, and it was a rude exchange, and I think somewhat typical of Kemi Badenoch. And today there's news that Kemi Badenoch openly criticised Rishi Sunak during the first shadow cabinet meeting. I think this goes further than reflects deep divisions within the Conservative Party. This reflects a deep and abiding nastiness within the Conservative Party. Rishi Sunak knows full well what he did. He knows full well that he called the general election at an inappropriate time without proper cabinet consultation, and that in itself underscores his lack of strategic foresight, or his or the fact that he was controlled by a number of rather stupid spads and civil servants. And Kemi Badenoch has made a point of openly detailing his early departure from the D-Day commemorations as a significant misstep. The biggest misstep in the Conservative Party election was the gambling problem, and she didn't speak about that, apparently. Instead, she just wanted to rub Rishi's nose in his failure, and that seems cheap and ungallant, and disloyal. And the meeting, of course, showcased a range of responses to the defeat. Jeremy Hunt commended Sunak's dedication, which he believed mitigated the extent of the party's loss. But Badenoch's harsh criticism suggests not only a factional divide, but an inappropriate response and a demonstration of why she is unsuitable to high office. I cannot imagine that Penny Mordaunt would have been so brutal and so ungenerous. And James Cleverly, to his credit, not somebody I like, has written an article in the Times emphasising the need for unity in the Conservative Party and a comprehensive review to avoid further infighting and to rebuild the party's reputation and voter trust. But Badenoch's outspoken stance and the broader reactions within the party illustrate the challenges ahead for the Conservatives and illustrate the need to root out the nastiness. And I don't think somebody can wave a flag of gender and say that they require greater consideration because of their gender and because of the need to break the glass ceiling. I think the Conservatives have demonstrated perfectly well with three female prime ministers that glass ceiling has been broken and that gender is no impediment to high office. But equally, I think one needs to recognise that criticising people who happen to be women is not a mark of misogyny. It's a mark of clear fact that some of the nastiest individuals in the Conservative Party happen to be women, and I don't think that one should keep mum simply because of a recognition of the need to have a higher proportion of women in Parliament. The Conservatives have failed in that, particularly in this intake, and they have a particularly poor display of very powerful women like Priti Patel, Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman. And yesterday, Suella Braverman couldn't be bothered to attend the opening of Parliament, the swearing in. Instead, she was posturing in America with Jacob Rees-Mogg. Her priorities are wrong. Does she not represent her constituents? No, she represents herself, as indeed Kemi Badenoch demonstrates here. I think power has gone to their heads. And it would be wrong not to call it out. Absolutely wrong. As for her D-Day jibe, it wasn't D-Day that did for the Prime Minister in the general election. It was the gambling crisis, which called to mind, which reminded the public of Partygate and of the greed and of the nastiness that has spread through the party under particularly Boris's tenure, Sunak's tenure, and despite its incredible brevity, Liz Truss's tenure. And Kemi Badenoch seems to overlook that one detail because all she wants to do is to bully Rishi Sunak. I think we should come out and support Rishi against these adversarial tirades of nastiness. And I think we should call them out for what they are. Power crazed and self-obsessed.